Hello and welcome everyone to YCS Charlotte 2022. There's the beautiful downtown Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a brisk, cool morning here in April, and the Duelists are ready. Round one has already begun, and we are here with our first feature match. We have 1,055 players competing, and it is round one. Everyone is undefeated up to this point. Only one will be able to walk away with that title, YCS Champion, though, and I'm so excited. It's been 2 years since we've been at an in-person YCS, and I can't wait to see who's going to win this first event back.
Yeah, I mean, we keep on talking about there is definitely the energy in a room. Everyone is so stoked to be back here with in-person play. But big question, who's going to come out on top, right? Like, we've seen several people crown Remote Duel YCS champions or even Remote Duel Invitational champions. But now we're back at the in-person Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series. What deck's going to come out on top? What player is going to come out on top? Our players have been just practicing for all this time, ready. But it looks like our duelists are prepared at our feature match table. So let's go ahead and head down. This is round one of Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series, Charlotte, North Carolina. And we're going to have a good one. Here are our players for this round. First up, we have Paul. He is our Remote Duel YCS champion from Monroe, Connecticut. He's going to be facing off against Tristan, hometown High Point, North Carolina. His favorite card, Infernoid Decatron. Billy, big Infernoid fan, I'm sure.
I am. I'm a huge fan of Decatron. That is one of my favorite cards as well. We saw Polly's favorite card being Pod Desires. Both fantastic cards, fantastic duelists. Polly is our most recent Remote Duel YCS champion, so we wanted to start things off, seeing if he's going to be able to keep that same momentum going into this in-person tournament. We saw him take down the last Remote Duel YCS, and now he is going to be trying to also get this in-person one added to his belt. I remember asking him, like, what is next? After you won this YCS, it's a huge goal for a lot of players. Maybe the next thing up for him is another YCS championship win.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always excited to see the big question all of the time is like, oh, can they go back to back, right?
Right.
Obviously, the difference between a remote duel and in person, pretty big. So we'll see if Paulie has what it takes to win those back-to-back rings here at the main stage of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series. Looking at his deck, it looks a little thick, so it's likely to be a similar deck to the 60-card Adventurer Synchro that he was playing previously. But, I mean, a big question that whether it's him going back-to-back specifically or any of these other Remote Duel players who've sort of, come into the forefront of the game during the Remote Duel Series events, can they bring that same level of game to the table this weekend in person?
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see. And his opponent, Tristan, we saw, is from North Carolina, so a hometown hero maybe here. Sometimes when you have players that don't travel very much and you can get to that tournament that's in their area and they get to travel to the YCS, you have some surprise wins and maybe some rising duelists will show up this weekend. We'll have to see if Tristan will be able to take down Paulie. It's always a little nerve-wracking. You get that first-round feature match. You might not be expecting it, and you're going up against, the most recent YCS champion. A little nerve-wracking, but we'll have to see if he can play past that and focus on his game and end up going with the win here. Looks like the players are shuffling up and getting ready. It's been 2 years since we've been here in person. I know you and me, Robbie, have been enjoying the Remote Duel YCSs and the Remote Duel tournaments that we've had in the invitationals, everything. But, just seeing the players across from each other and getting ready to duel, just fantastic. And like we mentioned before, the energy in the room is just overflowing with people just being excited just to hear the words, welcome to round one. You have 45 minutes, you may begin, was met with, a thunderous applause and claps. Everyone happy to be back here enjoying the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a feel-good moment for everyone here this weekend. Everyone's just excited to be back. We keep on talking about it because you're right. It's hard not to feel that way, right? It's an exhilarating experience here at the in-person Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series, and everyone's bringing their A game. They all want that coveted title of Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series winner, along with all of those awesome prizes, everything from the Dueling Dragon, the Dual Dragon, the ultra rare copy to that beautiful YCS trophy you were showing off earlier.
Beautiful.
I know.
I was talking about it at those Remote Duel events because it looks so good, but seeing it in person is just I was like in awe of it. Really one of the best trophies I've seen for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series.
Yeah, I mean, they just get better and better. We talk about it all the time, right? Like our YCS trophies from back in the day look nothing as good as these new ones. Little bit of
not
jealousy
quite as
here.
epic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
A little bit of jealousy there, but it's okay because that means just new players get to win these better prizes today, and I'm excited to see who will take it home here. And there's the die roll. We'll see who takes it down. Yep, going first, pretty integral to this format, right? We talked about it a lot. There's a lot of turn 1 boards that are pretty strong. Obviously, getting impactful cards like Artifact Scythe online, something that's everyone has top of mind, right? Playing a bunch of outs to it. But this is a format where a ton of disruption is played, a lot of hand effects, right? So, going second, not always the worst. But here it is, game 1 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series Charlotte. We have the returning YCS champion, Holly, at the top, facing off against hometown hero Tristan at the bottom.
Yep, it looks like Tristan is also playing one of those larger decks and maybe pushing 50, 60 cards to include all these powerful engines all in one deck. And ooh, I see a bunch of level 3 monsters, Psychic Wheeler, Psychic Tracker. That leads me to believe he is playing that level 3 adventure synchro kind of deck where you focus on getting level 3s. The advantage to playing something like this as opposed to just the more adventure synchro strategy. Oh, it's Phantom Knights, even cooler. A deck that is one of my favorites of this format. So yeah, the teleport bringing out the tracker, a normal summon at Torrent Scales. You don't want to use that normal summon effect, so you can still have Rite of Armus here online later on, and we're going to see them link away into Cherubini, really the focal point of any sort of level 3 strategy, especially the Phantom Knight one, because you can immediately send a Water Enchantress if you don't already have it in your hand to get that engine online before you can proceed to your other plays and maybe get something like the Phantom Knight's Rusty Bardiche onto the field. But it looks like not going for Enchantress, deciding to send down the Cloak. Having Cloak and Torn Scales is really fantastic. You're going to be able to fill your board and easily get access to that Rusty Bardiche.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the big thing that you've touched on previously with me a lot with this Phantom Knight deck is it has a lot of staying power, right? It's not one of those decks where you plop out a board and then if it gets broken, you're out of the game, right? You have a ton of resources because the graveyard is effectively a second hand, and it still gets to do very powerful things in very simple ways thanks to just Cherubini opening up everything with just some level 3 monsters.
Yeah, and this is a really cool combo. This is what, when you have that Torn Scales and Cloak in the grave, you can banish the Cloak to add Stained Greaves, and then it'll trigger, you can trigger the Torn Scales, and then you can trigger the Stained Greaves to summon it from your hand. But it looks like deciding to hold that Stained Greaves he searched and not special summon to the field, instead decides to special summon Phantom Knight Silent Boots, and going to overlay those two directly into Levier.
Yeah, Levier, an incredibly powerful monster in the extra deck that this strategy gets access to. Just because you banish so many monsters inherently, right, happens to be a rank 3, so super easy to get access to. And it's just like all those other powerful extra deck monsters that might special summon something from the deck. Very similar, right? You're able to link climb with it effectively, get recycle resources that you might have already used. And we see that here with him special summoning back his Phantom Knight monster. And then that Stained Greaves hits the field as well.
Yep, exactly. And now we're seeing the Stained Greaves go to the graveyard with the Cherubini. Don't want to summon Rusty Bardiche next. And now we'll see where he's going from here. Decides to link away the Levier and the Ancient Cloak, probably for an Artifact Dagda, if I had to guess here. You know, you mentioned it earlier, Scythe. That's a big topic of the conversation is how well the deck can utilize Scythe. How well can you play against Scythe? Because with cards like Artifact Dagda, always being able to access not just Scythe. If you leave it on the field and have Destroyer, you can get Scythe and Lancey against the opponent. So really, that is one of the focuses when you're building your deck preparing for this tournament, if you're going to be able to deal with this combination of cards. And yeah, the Dagda is setting that Artifact Scythe from the deck since he activated the Rusty Bardiche effect on the field. And Rusty Bardiche is going to send a Phantom Knight from the deck to the graveyard and set a Phantom Knight trap to the field.
Close.
Yeah, pretty strong opening thus far. Like we said, Scythe being a huge part of the format. We'll see if Pauly happens to draw, one of his main deck outs to it.
Yeah, not seeing a Nibiru just yet, but he could be holding it maybe potentially for the end for a more, impactful opening. But it looks like, yeah, going to set the Shade Burgundy, activate the Shade Burgundy. Since there are no traps in the graveyard, he can activate it right away. Summons itself as a monster, links it away into Link Spider, because he wants to turn that normal monster into an effect monster.
Yep, and it looks like those two are going to meet the Predaplant Verte Anaconda, so getting him access to Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer by sending down Fusion Destiny, using its effect. He's going to likely kick down Dasher along with Celestial, get some additional resources in the graveyard, right? We talk a lot about why, Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer is just one of the most, powerful cards in the format, right? And very easily accessed from the extra deck, thanks to Predaplant Verte Anaconda only taking 2 materials. But also, these fusion materials that they use to summon it incredible, right? Especially Destiny Girl Celestial.
Oh yeah, I mean Celestial, Dasher both have those effects in the graveyard. Really fantastic for follow-up. I mean the Destroyer has follow-up. It has Disruption. The card that you're using to summon the Destroyer gives you follow-up. Really just a fantastic package to include in any deck. And Phantom Knight's really good at capitalizing on that. You see lots of ways to special summon monsters to the field. And then that's not all. Not only are you building this board, you have be able to use the boots in the graveyard and the Ragged Gloves to search for the Fog Blade. Maybe you can potentially, well, since the Fusion Destiny's here, you're not going to see that Break Sword in the graveyard to be able to summon back to trigger off the Bardish. But sometimes when your hand's a little stronger, you'll be able to have that point of interaction too. But just having the Bardish and the Scythe and the Destroyer, we didn't see him leave up the Dagda, so probably not playing Scythe and Lancey here in the same deck. But we'll see if he decides to do this Destroyer, and it looks like he's going to do it right away, not giving his opponent a chance to move into that main phase yet. Actually, Destroyer's a Phoenix Enforcer's effect, and that is going to target, well, it doesn't target, but it destroys one card on his side of the field, destroy another card on the field. So we'll have to see if Polly has any response to the activation of this Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. We're looking for something like Forbidden Droplet.
Thinking on cost.
Yep, and it looks like he does have the Forbidden Droplet in hand. Thinking about what card he's going to send for cost to activate its effect.
Yeah, Forbidden Droplet, just one of those cards you pretty much have to include in your deck. You want to make sure you have it. It can negate multiple monster effects by sending cards to the graveyard for each monster you want to negate, and the opponent won't be able to respond with the same type of cards you sent. So if you send a monster with Forbidden Droplet, they cannot respond with the monster effect. Send a trap that same kind of way. So we'll have to see what he decides to send. It looks like, ooh, sending the Celestial. While sending Celestial, you think it's not very good in the hand, but losing it from the hand means you won't be able to activate Fusion Destiny during the game since the Celestial is now gone.
Sending Water Enchantress of the Temple. Banish Water Enchantress of the Temple. Add Rite of Armistice.
If it looks like that Foolish Burial is going to kick down Water Enchantress to the graveyard, which he's going to banish to grab Rite of Armistice.
Yeah, we were talking about being able to send the Enchantress to the graveyard. Foolish Burial, just one of the OG fantastic classic ways to be able to do that.
Yeah, Foolish Burial just giving you, a lot of options in terms of what you can do, but most of the time going to be additional copies of Water Enchantress, so it's just going to just grab you that Rite of Armistice. So then he's going to go ahead and activate Gaze Adventurer token, Gate the Faithful Adventurer.
And that looks like No Punk Zaman, so he's going to be able to summon brand new added Grand Creators, another cool psychic package, and it's going to trigger the Faithful Adventurer to add Draco back to the hand.
Activate the second effect of Faithful Adventure.
Now he's going to use the second effect of Faithful Adventure to add a monster from his deck to his hand, and then he has to discard a card.
Add Wandering Griffin Rider to hand.
Yep, and he's going to go ahead and grab that Wandering Griffin Rider before discarding the Draco back and triggering its effect. Getting onto that Adventurer token.
Yeah, I mean, Draco back, just such a powerful equip card. Like, you have to pay that cost for Faithful Adventurer to discard, but the card you discard is able to re-equip, and then it has that bonus effect to return a card on your opponent's side of the field to the hand. Really a good way to start off your turn when you're going second to force out some interaction from the opponent. So, like, you're trying to clear, since he already had the droplet for the monster effects, now he's going to try and go after cards like Fogblade, since he does know his opponent is on Phantom Knights. Even though I didn't see him banish for boots to grab Fogblade.
No, he's just going to go ahead and bounce the one mystery card, I think, on the field, knowing that Scythe is the other one set in that second to the right-hand column for Tristan.
Now it looks like he's going to use Foxy Tune's effect, so he's going to discard Foxy Tune and another card to special summon a Punk monster from his deck. It's kind of like a little emergency teleport. There he goes, grabs the Zeamon, and now he has 2 level 3s on the field. We'll see if he decides to link those away, and he does. For Hauka Fibrex, there is a tuner included, both tuners, and now Hauka Fibrex is going to summon a tuner from the deck to the field.
Yep, it looks like it's going to be that Red Rose Dragon, which he's going to use immediately, syncing alongside the Wandering Griffin Rider for Baron.
Yeah, the Wandering Griffin Rider being level 7, level 3 tuner, really fantastic, upgrading that Griffin Rider into Baron. A really powerful card out of Legendary Duelist Synchro Storm. And then that Red Rose Dragon is going to summon Rox Rose Dragon, which is going to let him add that Basil Rose shoot from his deck to his hand, which will let him special summon back that Rose Dragon from the graveyard, giving him more extenders to complete his turn. This is going second, just showing you the power of having something like Forbidden Droplet alongside the Adventure package in your hand is really a really good way to break boards. And, Paulie just going to work here in this first game of our first round of YCS Charlotte. See a synchro summon coming down for Yazi. Darkness of the Yangzing.
Yep, that is 4 from the Adventurer token, 3 from the Rockstars Dragon, level 7. So we'll see Yazi here, another card, you know, we sometimes see Shooting Riser Dragon if they want access to Fairy Tale Snow, but he's going to choose the Yazi here, activate its effect.
See which card he tries to take out. Looks like he's going after the Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer to clear it off the field. I imagine Pauly's trying to find a way to put enough damage here on the board to finish off his opponent here on his first turn. It looks like he's summoning Mare from the deck to the field.
Yeah, I have to assume he sees some type of way if he's going ahead and, you know, bouncing the one mystery card he doesn't know and destroying the Destiny Hero Phoenix Enforcer, which he knows will come back next turn. But trying to make sure his opponent does not have a next turn. As he summons the Mare, he will use its effect to get several tokens onto the field.
Oh, it also reduces its own level, so just to mark it's easier to track how many times you've used it.
Yeah, Mare is just really powerful, being able to use its effect up to thrice per turn. It means you can be able to summon one token each at a time and then use the tokens for synchro summons. It's really just a really powerful card, and why Yazi clears a potential card in the way from the opponent while summoning something as powerful as Mare, just fantastic, and why we've seen this Adventure Synchro deck, you know, be so dominant thus far in this format.
Yeah, I mean, anytime a card says thrice on it, you have to read it a couple times, right? Probably have to read the card thrice just to make sure you didn't read it incorrectly the first time. But the fact that Mare is also just a worm, right?
Yep.
Big bonus for these worm-centric strategies like Tenyi, Sword Soul, etc., that can give you great access to Yazi.
So he's going to link one of the tokens away into Link Spider. Link Spider is one of those cards you would read and be like, wait, is this a useful card? But really, being able to turn a non-effect monster into an effect monster, opening up access to cards in the extra deck that require at least one effect monster is huge here. But it looks like he is going into Artifact Dagda, and Dagda is going to set Scythe.
Artifact Scythe.
And he used the Mare to make the token, and since he used the effect on the field, that triggered the Artifact Dagda. So maybe realizing he's not going to be able to finish off his opponent here in the first turn, wants to make sure he sets up with a Scythe because, you know, you mentioned it earlier, Phantom Knights have a lot of follow-up. That Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer is coming back to the field unless Pauly is able to find a way to finish him off. And is that an access code talker?
Access code talker.
Yep,
Yes,
it is.
Finish Link Spider from graveyard to destroy, forgot the full name, but Rusty.
And I think he still has the Baron effect to destroy a card as well. I don't think he destroyed anything with the Baron, but access code being able to banish Link monsters from the graveyard of different attributes, not once per turn, and wipe the rest of Tristan's cards off the field. And, you know, the access code, I think, is at 2,000. Got the 2,000 bonus from a link to the Dagda. So it's at 43. The Baron is going to be another 3,200, I believe. And then Basil Rose Shoot is going to bring back the dragon. He's going to be able to synchro for Herald of the Arclight, and this should be enough for game here. And yep, just like that, Pauly, our most recent YCS champion, losing the die roll, but taking advantage of cards like Forbidden Droplet and Rite of Aramis here to push this to a game 2 and winning a game right away. You know, when you win the last tournament, you're going into the next tournament and you're already winning. You're like, you haven't lost in, you know, who knows how long? Because this is essentially like that same format we just saw. We could really be seeing the beginning of maybe a back-to-back champion, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that would be super exciting to see. I mean, big thing there, these powerful Link 4 monsters that can just define formats, right? Access Code Talker definitely speeding up the game a little bit because anytime you can access it, right, you're talking about game right there. And that was exactly Paul's strategy. He saw the opening, was able to counter the Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, luckily with Forbidden Droplets, making sure his opponent doesn't get Scythe online. And through all of that, still had a Scythe for his opponent's next turn, right, if he finds a way to pop it.
Yeah, I mean, that also shows you the degree of, like, you know, a good player. Like, okay, I am going to be able to put 8,000 on the board. I know your face down is an Artifact Scythe, I can't do anything, but just in case, on my way to putting this game on board, I'm going to have my backup plan online and get that Scythe onto the field just in case anything can go wrong. You know, that's just, I've always, you know, worried about things like if my opponent sets a monster, maybe it's a Fossil Dyna. I'm not attacking into it. You got to be weary of some of the craziest things. That's the thing about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like, there's a lot of, like, you know, decks you think like of the meta, the powerful strategies, but there's also a lot of rogue strategies that can actually do really well and take you by surprise and catch you off guard if you're not prepared for them adequately going into the tournament. Because in a YCS, there's 11 rounds of Swiss. You're going to play against a ton of different decks, and, you know, one of the key advantages going into a tournament is having those strategies that people aren't prepared for. like something like maybe like we saw with like Fluendery started taking off in the beginning. People just really weren't ready for that deck, and it made it all the way to the top 4 of the last remote duel. And going into this weekend, I know a lot of people were worried about that Prank Kid deck. We're probably going to see a lot of those here this weekend. So maybe some of the cards you could side deck against that. Phantom Knights, though, let's go talking about that. It's kind of fallen out of favor amongst a lot of players. They've kind of moved on to that level 3 adventure or synchro package. Personally, I do like the Phantom Knights. I think Fogblade's a great card. But as we saw there, just that having that Forbidden Droplet was able to be enough to break Tristan's board after maybe not the strongest opening from Tristan's Phantom Knight strategy, but he's going to get a second chance at going first here in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing I think we didn't see that game, though, was Fogblade, right? Like, usually they're able to set up at least a couple, one minimum, usually a couple, and then just being able to have these just additional, like, upside points of negation, right? Like, we see it where, even with Chichao, you just have these instant cards that incidentally get you access to more disruption on the way from your extra deck. And really, like, that's another part of why the Phantom Knight deck is so strong, right? Like, it's not just a scythe deck. It's not something you can just, like, Dark Ruler no more or anything like that, because they do have trap cards to interact with you. But didn't see them there. We'll see. Tristan will be going first, again, we assume, in this game, too. So hopefully he'll get a little bit of a stronger hand, more access to some more cards that will help him disrupt Pauly's deck. But Pauly going second means he'll probably have even more tools to combat things like Artifact Scythe, or maybe more hand effects to potentially throw a wrench in Tristan's plan. I mean, big question for Paul is whether or not he wants to try to disrupt his opponent's combo when he's going off, or try to break the board after, right?
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to, is the combination of cards that you're going to have in there. I think you mentioned it, and when you're side decking, you're going to make sure you have, the big thing that's probably going to go in for Pauly is Siphon Gear Gamma. It's one of the most high impact, monster effects you can use from the hand, as it's able to stop a number of things. Not only, you can also start on your opponent's turn. If they start something off like Artifact Lancia or even Artifact Scythe, you can chain that Gamma from the hand and you get those bodies on the board. But we don't see it in a lot of main decks, but definitely in almost every player's side deck, I think, because when you're going second, there's not really another card you want to see. Now it looks like our duelists are ready, and they are jumping here into game 2.
Yep, looks to be the case. We'll see who chose to go first, but have to assume it's Tristan, as he's looking at his hand pretty hard there. I see at least one copy of Nolman Crossout as well, or excuse me, Crossout Designator.
Same guy.
And here we are in game 2 of round 1 of YCS Charlotte. But yeah, same guy, a little bit of a different job, right? He received a bit of an upgrade. Still, if you're looking at the format, like, right, how strong Nolan of Crossout used to be in the formats, it was powerful. Crossout Designator, sort of similar power level at some capacity.
I really think that's why I like the card so much, because I remember the days when Nolan of Crossout was just dominated the game, and now Crossout Designator is just a beautiful artwork and just really a fantastic card. But we see him draw it here, but nothing to go alongside it to start his combos, so he's just going to be setting 2 spell and trap cards and passing.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, that goes to show it's one of those cards that it's not one of those that, like, win more is like, oh, it makes my bad hands worse but good hands better, but it's sort of in the middle, right, where like it helps you push through, but it doesn't start your combo, right? It doesn't necessarily extend your combo, where we see players who usually, when they're playing these heavy combo decks, they'll just pack as many cards that do exactly that, right? Not necessarily cards that beat things, but cards that either get them going or get them going further.
Exactly. But we do see Pauly not starting off with Rite of Armis here, but instead going to start with Magician's Souls, and that's going to send down that brand new card out of Battle Chaos, Illusion of Chaos, to the graveyard. So now the Soul's on the field. And I do see a Nibiru in Pauly's hand. So if Tristan did have a start, he would have had that Crossout Designator for the Nibiru. But it looks like Pauly's going to use Magician's Souls to send Forbidden Droplet from his hand to the graveyard to try and draw a card. Definitely a sign of maybe a weaker kind of hand. But that is, and Tristan, taking the read that this is not like the strongest start he's seen from this deck, and go ahead and using that Effect Veiler on the Souls. But when your hand is bad, there's one card that can really make it good just with one activation, and that is Fusion Destiny. I know in Pauly's deck list from the last one, he only played one copy in his 60-card deck. I wonder if that is the case here this weekend. But opening up with it and able to use it and send down Dasher and Celestial straight to the graveyard, and then summoning that all-powerful, one of the best fusion monsters probably of all time, if not the best, from Burst of Destiny, Destiny Hero, Destroyer, Phoenix, Enforcer.
Yeah, I mean, talking about Fusion Destiny, when the card first came out, or excuse me, not when that card first came out, but when Destroyer, Phoenix, Enforcer first came out, big question was like, is this more powerful than Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, right? Because very similar effects, Red Eyes Fusion versus Fusion Destiny, but Fusion Destiny was the cards that you're happy to play 3 of, right? Because if you draw in your hand, it does exactly this. Doesn't matter how weak my hand is, I can just smack it down. It means I didn't have to summon Predator Plant, Verite, Anaconda.
Exactly, and you don't have that, like the Red Eyes Fusion, you aren't able to summon the turn you have. You activate from your hand. Fusion Destiny, you can just wait till the very end. You can do all your summoning you want, and then if everything doesn't kind of go your way, just, activate my Fusion Destiny. Really, really powerful. It has an awesome, cool new ultimate rarity in the latest OTS tournament pack. ATS tournament pack 18. Still trying to get my hands on a couple of those.
Yeah, definitely something I think everyone wants to get their hands on. Those ultimate rares from the OTS packs are absolutely awesome. And it looks like Tristan is going to use Forbidden Droplets. Just a Phantom Knight there.
Stained Greaves, I believe.
Stained Greaves, yep, it does indeed look like that.
Stained Greaves is a good one to discard here. It's its graveyard effect doesn't come up too often, but you're able to banish from the graveyard to special summon a Phantom Knight from your hand. So it kind of gives you another normal summon, because sometimes you just normal summon a Cloak, they get the Cloak off the field, you're not able to get another Phantom Knight on the field to like special summon a Boots and get to those 2 level 3s. But Stained Greaves kind of helps you with that extension. But I don't know how, and we do see that Phantom Knight Ancient Clothes coming down. We'll see if this prompts a Destroyer effect here from Poly. Now that he sees the Stained Greaves, I would assume not. He might hold it off for something more impactful, because he knows if he pops the Ancient Cloak, destroys it, goes to the graveyard, he can banish the Ancient Cloak, grab Torn Scales, banish Stained Greaves, and then some of the Torn Scales from his hand. But yeah, so choosing not to destroy the Cloak, seeing that, and we see a link into Salamangreat Almirage, a card that wasn't really included in Phantom Knights before, but now with stuff like Verite Anaconda, if you just a normal summon, you're able to access it pretty easily just to get 2 effect monsters onto the field. A really good inclusion into the Phantom Knight deck. I think Almirage is just one of those cards that's like so powerful, included in so many strategies, it doesn't really get like the credit it deserves. It's just deceptively powerful would be a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it in the past a lot, right? Link ones. Crazy, crazy. Just the easiest way to get a monster into the graveyard, and that's all it needs to do, right? Whether that's Sangan, whether that's a Phantom Knight, it just immediately triggers graveyard effects or gives you access to it. So Almirage is definitely one of those, like, all-stars, but...
And here against Destroyer, too, you get the bonus where you can actually protect your card from being destroyed. Even though Destroyer doesn't target, if there's a specific monster you want to save, it has those applications as well. Love Almirage.
Yeah, definitely.
He's Salaman great.
He is Salaman great. He's holding it down for the rest of the crew for sure. And it looks like Tristan is going to push forward. That is a Shade Brigadine that is on the field alongside...
The Boots?
Yes, the Boots. And he's going to consider which materials he uses here to link summon.
Decides to go with the Almirage and the Shade Brigadine for a Dark. The Dark Charmer Gloomy out of Battle of Chaos. We've been waiting. All the Charmers have been coming out, for quite some time, and then finally the Dark one has been released just in time after, something like Destroyer on the field. So I'm interested that he went for it right now, because now Poly's going to be able to get rid of that Dark. Because you usually want to use Dark to summon a Destroyer Phoenix Monster from the opponent once it's already used the effect it's in the graveyard, so they can't bring it back on the following turn. It's also just great for link climbing in general.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that everyone's playing Dark Monsters makes it incredibly easy to summon. And, as you mentioned, the fact that Destroy Phoenix Forces Dark gives it a huge amount of upside. I remember Hita was the one that, played a huge role back in the day. We talked about specifically Salamangreats, right? Yep. The fact that Ash Blossom was also fire. But now Gloomy holding it down.
Yep.
Is the new All-Star out of the Charmers.
There's a beautiful Starlight Rare also in Battle of Chaos.
Oh, yeah. All of them do. I mean, those were the first Starlight Rares that I was like, I really want a set of these. Long-term investment for sure, but it looks like he's going to go ahead and use the Dasher that he stole off of the Gloomy alongside it to link summon Rusty Bardiche.
Yep. And so Rusty Bardiche being summoned here is... It's okay, because he's going to prompt the Destroyer. He doesn't get to use the effect of Bardiche, but if he can find a way to get a Fog Blade, a Phantom Knight Wing in the graveyard to be able to special summon back that Phantom Knight Rusty Bardiche, he'll still be able to use the effect since he hasn't triggered it yet. But with the Almirage gone, the Boots just sitting on the field, I don't see any cards in his hand to summon with the Stained Greaves. I don't think he's going to be able to do too much here, and that Destroyer just picking apart Tristan's board. And now the play is going to be passed back to Poly with just the Magician's Souls on the field, but that Destroyer Phoenix Force coming back. Dasher in the grave can special summon a monster he draws. Celestial, if he can empty his hand, will be able to draw him 2 cards. So Celestial, yeah, I was talking about Ciphering Gear Gamma, how we can probably see it. It looks like he does Dasher out the effect ability he drew, which is a fantastic way, just a free special summon, which you wouldn't think was too much impactful, but now with stuff like Link Monsters, you're able to access the extra deck. Anytime you just get any monster on the field, it can be huge. So even if it's just something like Effect Veiler. It is a tuner, which means you can access stuff like Kristron Halka Fibrax if he does play 2 copies in his extra deck, which we do see from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a powerful extra deck monster that sometimes it's just worth the extra inclusion if you can manage the slot, but these bigger combo decks, right, having 15 different choices is usually a lot of upside, right? Because
Yeah,
it just
the
gives you that
options.
one extra option that, you know, it might not come up every game, but it's going to come up, and when it does, you're probably going to win because of it. It looks like he's going to use his normal summon on Fairy Tale Snow.
Fresh off that forbidden list. Welcome back, Fairy Tale Snow. We missed you. You're one of the strongest cards, and we're happy to have you here. You know, we see it dominating a lot of the YCS scene, and now we do see that link summon for that Kriston Hauka Fibrax, and that's going to trigger the effect of summon a tuner from the deck to the field.
Special summon Red Rose Dragon?
Yep, he's going to get that Red Rose Dragon, another card that's just so good. It basically gives you 3 things to do once you summon it. So he's going to use it as a material first. That's going to be a level 7 synchro. He's going to get Yazi again. This is going to trigger the Red Rose Dragon, which will special summon the Rox Rose Dragon from his deck, which will then get another card once it's at the graveyard, usually a Basil Rose Shoot. And then that's why Red Rose Dragon, just an incredibly powerful tuner monster. Another thing that's just sort of like deceptively, right, because it doesn't do things immediately when it's summoned, but the fact that it's similar to me to Reborn Tengu. That's what I look at, right? The tuner equivalent to Reborn Tengu.
Yeah, it does have that similar feels to it for sure. And with, you know, the cards, the Red Rose and Rox Rose, just fantastic with the synergy together, and Basil Rose Shoot. And then we see that Yazi once again. Looks like he's going for the monster instead of the face down, and going to summon Mare from the deck as we saw in the previous turn.
Yeah, the first duel ended so quickly for a second. I was like, oh, wait, is that Artifact Scythe down there still? But no, this is a new game, new card set. He's going to go ahead and bounce it.
Yeah, so this is cool. So he takes out the monster first. Doesn't want to destroy the face down Speller Trap because it could be a Fog Blade, and if Fog Blade's in the graveyard, you can banish Fog Blade to summon back a Phantom Knight, which might help Tristan survive. But instead goes for the monster because he has that Vashuda in hand. You can banish it from your hand or graveyard as long as you control that non-effect monster to bounce the card. And really, like, Vashuda is just a cool card. It's a monster you can summon to the field as an extender, or it's removal for going second. It's just fantastic all around. Works well with the Adventure token, the tokens you get from Mare here, just a number of ways to get non-effect monsters on the field to enable it, even if you're not playing any other Tenyis in your deck.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these Tenyi cards are just, they do so much, right? And they're just so powerful. They're great in this deck here. He's going to use the Mare effect to grab himself another token. He's going to then link away the Hauka Fibrax and the Dagda for Access Code Talker once again. And this looks like a game that might be closed out pretty quickly here.
Yeah, the Access Code Talker, just very powerful. This is kind of just a replay of that game 1. I mean, he did have to go through 2 turns. Wasn't as explosive as maybe it was in that game 1, but able to get there in the following turn to get the same setup where he's able to access that Access Code Talker, go into the Herald of Arclight, have that form of negate on the field, just in case the opponent's been holding Nibiru for... It's kind of hard because you want to hold Nibiru as long as you can against his deck since there's so many ways to extend. And it looks like that's going to be enough. Polly's going to be able to move to battle phase and attack for game, and our most recent YCS winner is moving on 1-0, winning. All right, hello everyone, and welcome back. I'm here with our first Swiss round winner, Polly, and our last remote duel YCS champion. First of all, congratulations on your first round win. So tell me, did playing in the first feature match back after 2 years, how was it?
It was awesome. We got about 1,100 players here today, which is, you know, so there were some worries. The YCS was kind of last minute. We're less attendance. It's not. We got average attendance like it used to be back in the day. We're back, right?
We're back. You know, the energy's been great all weekend. So is there anything in your match in this first round that stood out to you? Were you expecting maybe the matchup?
So it's funny because ever since, you know, these newer Adventurer combo decks started getting popular a month or 2 ago, like I played the last YCS, the PK deck kind of fell off. So it was interesting to see PK Adventure again. Yeah, no, I think he made a mistake game 1 that might have hurt him. He would have had an extra Fog Blade, but it's an interesting matchup. I think I do still think base is a very strong combo deck that I'm playing. So.
Yep, and you played it well. So are there any deck types you're looking forward to playing this weekend, or the matchups that you really want to face, like you prepared for a little bit better here this weekend?
Yeah, you know, I almost switched decks myself to Prank Kids recently. You know, Prank Kids is a deck that's been doing hugely well lately. It's won a bunch of regionals. I know a lot of well-known players who switched to that deck over the last 2 weeks. I tested it myself this past week, and I decided I actually felt, you know, Adventurer combo that I'm playing, I still think it's a stronger deck, and I did though prepare my side deck very heavily for Prank Kid this weekend. So I'm thinking, you know, I'm hoping to take advantage of a large Prank Kid field, and we'll see what happens with that.
All right, and we'll have to wait and see how you do this weekend. I can't wait to see you. Hopefully maybe go back-to-back. You just won that last remote duel YCS. But congratulations on your first round win, and we'll see you later. You guys stay tuned. We'll be back for Swiss round 2. Don't go anywhere.